Good morning, Outliers. As you know, this is the morning hangout. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Just getting started here. I've got video from Tom Nash up today. And I'm going to wait for more people to show up here. But I really want y'all's feedback on what videos we cover. I think that's really important to get your feedback, right? But also, like, the way that I pick videos is we've actually got, like, the reason we're blowing up so hard is because I've kind of figured out the YouTube algorithm and what it's serving up to people. And I want to make sure that what we talk about is being served up to people. Otherwise, it just gets buried in the algorithm. I can even show you videos that are being produced today by giant channels that are getting crickets. Like, no one's even home. Because, like, that topic is not topical right now. For example, like, we were having a meeting yesterday with some guests that are going to come on, and I was showing them my calculations, right? And I was like, SoFi stock, Palantir stock, things like that. They just get the clicks right now, like no one's business. And then I showed them a big channel that put out, is CVS stock a buy right now? And it had, like, no views whatsoever. And I said, no one gives a shit about CVS, right? That stock doesn't matter in the YouTube algorithm. So I'm working on trying to balance what's most topical with also what's most educational. So, hey, Warfish from the Rick. How you doing, bud? Yuseb, how you doing? What's that picture? Hang on. What is that picture? Trying to figure it out. It looks like a hat turned sideways. But either way, glad y'all made it. The Odd Society. Review trending. Is that the channel name? Is trending stocks? Let's go that real quick. So I have a list. My list is actually pretty huge of channels that I look at. Oh, cool. I'll add that to my list. Thank you very much. And I have an account specifically for this. So you can go to my subscriptions here. And you can see, oh, there's me having this Tuesday hangout, right? Oh, there's me as well. You can see all the channels that I subscribe to on this second account where I get my research from. But anyway, let's go over here. Start here in just a moment. Good, thanks. Maybe don't buy AMD, do this instead. Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking, right? Because, like, every video that comes out should be educational in some way. But not every video that comes out has to be the same thing over and over and over, right? We've done a lot about Jeremy's videos lately because Jeremy's videos are, like, running the YouTube algorithm. So it's like, well, let's jump in and talk about that. And then we can have some educational views around that. But either way, let me ask you a question in the chat. Type in a 4 if you enjoy these behind the scenes moments here on the Tuesday live hangouts or the morning hangouts, or a letter F, like you're telling me to F off if you're not liking these morning hangouts. I really want to know. I'm looking for your feedback right here. Super microcomputer. I know a lot of people talking about that. In fact, let's SMCI. And does OVTLYR cover SMCI? I got a few names pulled up here that I do want to cover. Hang on. What's happening? What's happening? Okay. Okay. I'm getting some 4s. I appreciate that. SMCI. I like doing this with you guys, and I like the behindsness of it. I think this is fun. Ooh, SMCI is down 5%. 5% this morning. So we'll talk about it more in a minute. But why does it show 2 earnings? Oh, that must be an ex-dividend date or something coming up. Yeah, SMCI has been beaten up pretty bad. You did have that crossover here. I mean, like I say, we'll jump into this in a little bit. But yeah, that order block is rejecting. Like, it's going to be down 5% this morning as it just jumped up into that order block. So just putting that out there. Well, you and Felix that I watch and learn from you guys. Dude, I didn't know Felix, and the very first time that I watched one of his videos was an AMD one. You can see, because the title was like, buy AMD and don't stop buying. And I just went on this like tirade for the first 8 minutes, and then I started watching his video, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute, he gets it. He's just using that as clickbait. Giovanni, 4, yes, your content brings a lot of added value. Cool. DuckTales mug, University of YouTube. Dude, I am such a Scrooge McDuck fan. I don't know if I can, like, I've got a couple Funko Pops. I've got a couple of random things around here. Got a little Scrooge McDuck car. I've got Scrooge McDuck Lego figure. I've got 2 Scrooge McDuck Funko Pops. And this is like just what's in front of me. And a little sticky tack on the bottom. Scrooge McDuck Funko Pops. Last year we went to Disney World, and they have these like tram things flying around Disney World, and so I got my, which the green screen's going to mess it up, but got my little Scrooge McDuck tram thing. On that wall over there, I have a Scrooge McDuck like sniffing money photo, and that wall over there, I've got a giant Scrooge McDuck thing with like its own light over it. Picture of him just like walking around with the cane. Over my bedroom wall, I have a Scrooge McDuck thing with him holding a Louis Vuitton bag. So yeah, Scrooge is my spirit animal, is what I say. Bob, good morning. Dude, I see you. I'm enjoying this. This timing helps me rein in the crazy before the markets open. I get reckless. Cool. Robert's asking about ISRG. I don't know. Let's go look. Do we get to SMCI yet? Yes, we do have SMCI. Did get a buy signal, by the way. Let's do the 6 months. I'm finding the 6-month view. I like that better. Okay, and then let's pull up one more since Bob asked. ISRG. Now we covered 2,500 stocks. That's grown a lot. It was around 1,000 not long ago, and now it's up to, it does, hang on, the ISRG. Oh yeah, we covered it. Cool. Let's go 6-month view. Awesome. Yeah, it's got a sell signal here. A really nice buy, and then a sell signal came through here. We can cover that one too. Dodge Society. Stock Market Live gets a good amount of people on his daily covering the market all day, but for a 300K channel, the numbers are small. Heard Scrooge McDuck averages 25% yearly returns. Hey, Coach B, good morning. Poor fish, EVRG looking good to me. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start the recording now, and Tom Nash talking about urgent major warning for stocks. We're gonna run this at 1 1/4 speed. 16 minutes long. I don't want to do this for 16 minutes. We'll see. All right, you ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
The income tax, canceling the IRS, basically replacing the whole existing tax system that we had for many years with tariffs. Essentially, according to what Trump said, nobody will ever pay taxes again, and all the money to fund the operation of the government will come from tariffs on imported goods into the United States. And before you go out and celebrate, hold on a second, it's way more complicated and nuanced than you think. Now, first of all, if there's one thing I know, I wouldn't get too early on the celebrations here, because governments tend to find different ways to squeeze money out of us simple people, and I'm sure this time is not going to be different. One tax gets canceled, another tax goes through the back door. We've seen it over the past few decades. It's nothing new. So I'm not going to celebrate until I actually see it. But besides the point, let's talk about how this whole thing impacts your portfolio, how it impacts the stock market, the economy. This is a cataclysmic change. We're not talking about a tax reform. We're talking about the tax overhaul that we haven't seen in 100 years. This is insane. Now, currently, there's 2 plans floating around. And much like, for the better part of his career, Trump has been very good with managing television, with creating smoke screens and head fakes and headlines and spins. And the 2 headlines that are circulating right now, since the weekend kind of started, is 1, the abolishment of the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, the cancellation of income tax, and replacing it with tariffs. But there's a second plan circulating, which is basically talking about reduction in certain taxes, like what you would consider a slight tax reform. And we'll talk about.
Well, I got to tell you, if we can do abolishment of income taxes, and that's a giant if. You and I both know that's a giant if. Like, I can't imagine how much more money. Well, I can probably put a percent on it. How much more money I'd have every single month, every single year, by not paying taxes. But that concerns me because if I'm not paying taxes, let's use round numbers here. Let's say that I got a 10% raise by not having taxes, right? I know it would be way more than that, but let's just say 10%. Does that mean that the tariffs that he's going to impose on all these goods that are going to pay for your or my income tax that is gone away, would they be more than the 10% raise that I would get overall by not having to pay taxes? I bet they would. I bet that would cause inflation of all goods to be much higher, especially, how much stuff do we import? I don't know the number, but probably everything in my desk, in my eyesight, was imported. And I bet you that it's going to cost a lot more than just 10% on anything. So I don't know. To me, I love the idea. I especially love the idea of not paying taxes. My political beliefs are this: I want to pay less in taxes and have more freedoms, right? That's all I care about. More freedom, less taxes. But that doesn't mean I want to pay more for everything else, right? Well, let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Christopher Ewell. I've twice been awarded Top 100 People in Finance. I was mentored by 5 of the market wizards, the best traders of all time. I've been successfully trading since 2009, and this is where we save time, make money, and start winning with less risk together as a team. And go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Don't forget that only price pays. So let's continue on to see what Tom's saying here.
But both today. Now, right now, you're paying a whole bunch of taxes that you don't even think about. You have income tax, you have capital gains. If you're a corporation, well, you have corporate income taxes, you have payroll taxes, you have estate taxes, you have sales tax, you name it. There's a lot of taxes that we're paying directly, indirectly. Trust me, it's a lot. Now, out of this huge list of taxes, the one biggest earner for the government in every country, it's not a US specific thing, but the biggest tax element is the income tax. This is where the butter is. This is the big kahunas, right? We're talking about $5 trillion of tax collections per year for the government from us normal tax paying people. So $5 trillion gets collected every year from income tax, which is by far the largest item. And right now, what we have is a situation where the government keeps collecting this $5 trillion, but because the expenses of the government are so huge, so out of control, that's not enough. And because that's not enough, the government keeps on borrowing money on top of that $5 trillion to fund all these stuff. The wars.
Which is why what Elon is doing, right, with the Doge, and he's coming through and he's just like wrecking entire departments, wrecking entire, U.S. aid, just basically upended. Right. I don't know how far and wide he's going to go. But you remember when he bought Twitter and he axed like 80% of the employees in the first week, and people were like, oh, Twitter's just going to collapse and implode. No, bro's profitable now. Like Twitter went from losing money hand over fist to now making money. And that's because he gutted all these extra expenses, and he's applying the same thing to basically the United States of America, which I'm all on board for. I think that's a great thing to have happen. I just don't know, like down the line, what these consequences are going to be, right? How do you have this giant bureaucracy that pays for things around the world, does whatever it's doing, and then overnight you axe that, right? But then again, you look at like so I have a friend that's an ICE agent, and for the last 4 years he had nothing to do. Like he said, he hated his job. He hated the people everyone that he worked with hated it because they were hamstrung. They couldn't do anything. And now dude is basically on planes every single day, taking deportees back to where they came from. Right. So this is a good thing overall. I think I'm just trying to conceptualize how this is going to work out. Right. How are we going to make this work with no taxes?
The roads, the education, the initiatives, whatever that may be. That whole thing basically ballooned the US debt by 2x over the past 10 years. We have doubled our national debt in just less than a decade because the spending by the government was so high, way higher than that $5 trillion.
Well, I mean, I bet the Biden crime family had a little bit to do with that, just saying.
Now, that's a problem that's currently being addressed by the DOGE, the Elon Musk Department of Government Efficiency, that's supposed to alleviate the problem, maybe even, it's Elon, maybe even solve it all completely, altogether, I don't know. But, the thing is, government spending, even though it might come down drastically under Elon Musk and DOGE, it's not going to go to zero. Government is still a very expensive thing to run. We want roads, we want education, we want infrastructure.
Right, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know how we make this work, right? How can we possibly create enough in tariffs to keep things functioning?
These things cost a lot of money, not to mention the wars and the support and the aid and all this stuff. It's a lot of money. Okay? So will tariffs, like Donald Trump said, will tariffs be able to completely replace income taxes? And we are maybe looking at a situation where we don't pay taxes at all ever. Now the tariffs just replace the income tax. I would classify this as a hard no. Tariffs are not going to replace income taxes. That's never going to happen. And the main reason it's never going to happen is because you have to kind of look into the numbers, and it's very clear. If you know the numbers, it's preposterous. It's not going to happen. But it's a good spin. It's a good spin. It gets the conversation going, and it creates a lot of momentum towards what Trump is trying to get. And I'll talk about that in a second. But the reason it cannot replace it is because overall, the United States total imports per year, the total value of goods that are brought to the United States from abroad are less than $4 trillion. So the total amount of goods we are bringing in from outside.
Hold on. He's saying we need $5 trillion in taxes, tax collections, revenue collections. Yet the total amount of goods coming in is $4 trillion. So basically you'd need a 110, 120% tariff to make this work. That's not going to fly.
Outside, the total amount is less than the entire tax collection from income tax, right? So for that to happen, for tariffs to replace income tax, we need to generate $5 trillion of taxes from tariffs on goods that are all in value are about $4 trillion. That means we have to levy a tariff of 140%.
Look at this. Tom and I are on the same page. We don't always see eye to eye, but I know Tom's a smart guy. And while we have different viewpoints on how to invest in stocks, at least we can see like macro factors, like there's no possible way that that's going to happen.
On every single imported item to the United States. Basically, if we say, well, whatever you bring to the US, there's a tariff of 140%. If you do that, the numbers align. And that way, basically, you can replace the income tax because you get to $5 trillion. But if you do that, if you levy a tariff of 140%, that is like putting your underwear on your head, getting naked and trying to climb Mount Everest. It's not a rewarding exercise, and it's probably not going to end well.
Dude, it could be tons of fun. Just saying.
For your cojones. So it's probably not going to happen. Okay. We're not going to tariff 140% on every single imported good. It's not going to happen. Right now, I agree to the fact that Elon Musk is probably going to do a good job with cutting government spending. So the amount of tax collections we're going to need will probably not be as high. The amount of borrowing we're going to do is probably not going to be as high, but it's still a very expensive thing. And canceling $5 trillion of income to the government is just too much gap that cannot be closed. Now, the other thing is with tariffs that a lot of people kind of forget is that it's not some sort of a magic pill which you just take and it solves all the problems. Even if we levy 140% on every single item we bring to the United States, we get to $5 trillion. Guess what? The price of these goods for the consumer in the United States is going to go up. It's going to go up significantly by a magnitude of 140%. It's just the way it is. Tariffs are being paid by consumers. So in that case, we're talking about a situation where we as the customers, as the consumers that are no longer paying income tax, have so much more money on their hands because the money stays in their pockets, not going to the IRS.
Look, this is exactly what I said about 8 minutes ago.
But now the prices have basically doubled and some. So that is going to be the most inflationary scenario you can think of. Way more disposable income and way higher prices on everything, way higher demand, and basically a replay of what we've seen in 2021, an extremely inflationary environment. And even though tariffs are not automatically inflationary, it can have opposite effects. Just ask the steel industry the last time we had tariffs. But I mean, in general, if you pull this stunt and you free up all this money to consumers and you basically double the price of everything, it's a very inflationary exercise. And you got to tread carefully here. That's why I think this plan is more of a spin, more of a conversation starter. And this just basically goes along with the regular modus operandi of Donald Trump. He starts strong. He makes these very, very hardball kind of starters, and then the negotiation is completely different because he has so much leverage. He's done it with tariffs on Mexico and Canada and Colombia, you name it. That's how he plays ball. He's a shrewd negotiator, and what he's doing with this is basically setting the ground rules where eventually the compromise is going to be way closer to what he wants than had he not initiated this grandiose program that obviously is just a kind of a leverage play, right? Now, what he also is suggesting, which is kind of more realistic, is that 2025 proposal that he has, essentially kind of prolonging the 2017 Tax Cuts Act and adding some tweaks to it. And that's actually not a bad idea. If you look at it, basically what he's doing, exempting tips from income tax. I mean, let's be honest. The people who are working for tips.
I don't think they're reporting those anyway.
they should not be bearing the majority of the burden of the tax collection in the United States. If your money is being made by tips, if you're waiting tables, and if you're doing these sort of jobs, I mean, we can just exempt tips. Nothing's going to happen. I think that's the decent thing to do. And I think that's also the smart thing to do for the economy, because you free up more available disposable income for people who didn't spend before because they were taxed on that, and that they spend more, and then the economy gets more, more kind of juice to it. So it's not a bad idea. The same thing with Social Security. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? Social Security is basically the government giving the people who needed the most money and then taxing it and taking some of the money back. So,
and that, I think, is some bull hockey, right? How can you, because my parents go through this, right? They're almost 80. They had to take Social Security withdrawals and things like that, right? And my dad's a veteran, and it's like you tax the money that you already took out, so you're getting taxed on the money that they're giving you to give back, so you can get more tax in it. It just makes absolutely no sense to me. Like that really irritates me, honestly. And these are the people who need the most money because they don't have other income. Okay, give me a break. Let me catch up on the chat here. Say good morning to everybody who's shown up. Kanishka, hey, how are you? I'm super stoked that you're here, my friend. Hello from the Singapore. Giovanni, big corporations found ways to circumvent taxes, and it will remain the same. Yeah, no joke. You know why Donald Trump didn't want to show his tax returns? Because Donald Trump has like probably the best accountants in the entire world, where he pays them a pittance in what he would have actually had to pay for taxes. So yeah, I mean, dude's a smart businessman. Let's be honest here. Good morning, Manny. Buenos dias. No monkey hammers today. No taxes. Wouldn't that just lead to universal basic income? I don't think so, because it's not like they're handing out cash, but rather they're not taking the cash that you earn. So I don't know. Maybe one and the same. Tariffs hurt the poorest in society due to the rising cost of living and inflation. That's why America got rid of tariffs in 1913 and introduced the income tax. And Mark, the smartest guy I know, said, hey, what else happened in 1913? Simon, any signs of breadth improving today? Let's jump over to breadth real quick. No, breadth is still falling hard and fast. Just like the market seems to be falling hard this morning. Not super hard, but like, you want to know why we're not pushing new all-time highs? It's because the market breadth has been just completely getting wiped out, right? Market breadth is still coming down. We have 27 new buy signals today, 62 new sell signals. So that's the market breadth right there, not getting any better, and I don't know when. Coach B, don't forget companies and industries won't be paying taxes. Throw AI into it. Like someone said, universal income. Big Pharma. Isn't the goal of tariffs to bring manufacturing home? As far as I understand, yeah, for sure. Bert, good morning. Good afternoon from the Netherlands. Good to see you. Alan, nothing like a war as a reason for government to tax more. I don't want any more wars. Hang on. Carolus? Carolus. Yeah, I'm going to go with Carolus. Did you put stop losses on your trade? If so, how do you calculate where to put them? Good question. I do have stop losses, but I don't put them in the market. My one stop loss is a half ATR below where I get in. An ATR is a measurement of the volatility of a stock. So let me jump into this for real quick. So for example, the SPY's ATR, you can see the value of it over here. SPY's ATR currently is at 683. 683. So if it goes down by half of that amount, so 683 divided by 2, let's just call it 340, right? If it goes down $3.40 from where I get in, that's the market telling me, you know what, this isn't working out. You should go ahead and close your trades. Here's the other thing too. Never marry a trade, right? Never marry a trade. Because if it doesn't work out, if it goes against you by half an ATR, then that's the market telling you now's not the time to be getting into this, right? And if it does go against you by half an ATR, just be cool with it. Just life. You got to move on. You don't have to sit and hold it and run it down. Basically do a run on the border of Mexico with how this trend is pointing right here. You don't have to do that. Okay. You can do the opposite where like this one here, Alibaba, like, yeah, moonshot right there. That's what you want to see, right? And during this time, when this crossed over here, I don't think it had any half of an ATR pullback. This is what you want to see when you're getting into a stock. This is what you want to avoid. If it's hitting your half ATR, it's telling you the stock isn't going to work out. And that's okay. Just be okay with that. Be okay with a losing trade. That was something that Larry Hite, one of my mentors, he was the very first $1 billion hedge fund manager. We went back and forth for like 3 hours. And I swear 2.5 of those 3 hours was him repeating the same thing over and over and over. Learn to take a loss. Learn to take a loss. Let's see. Good question. Hey, Rob. Hi from Yorkshire. Good to see you. Giovanni. Deflation is the reason why the government is hiking up the tax creation. JG, any thoughts on serve robotics? I'm up 26% and thinking about taking profits. Overnight's not looking so good. JG, drop that ticker symbol in the chat. I'll take a look at it real quick. As Chris was saying, don't put half ATR automatic stop loss in your broker. You'll be closed before you want it to. Yes, right. We've all been there where it just wicks down and then comes back up by the end of the day, right? We've all been there. I only trade at the end of the day, and these are some of the reasons why I only trade at the end of the day. So thanks for pointing that out, Rick. I'm not good at getting out. Well, you got to get good at getting out if you're going to get good at staying in the market. Okay. If you're going to stay in the market long term, you're going to have to get really good at getting out. Giovanni, I don't understand serve prices going up while the business is going down. You don't have to understand. Nobody's making you understand, right? Don't worry about it. Serve, right? If the business is going down, yet the price is going up, you guys know where I'm going here. If the business is going down, yet the price is going up, who cares? Only price pays. Only price pays. I don't follow crypto. Mark, how we are jumping from tariffs to UBI? Are we just assuming perpetual liquidity by some form of QE? Not 100% against UBI, but by the way, money printer go burr sounds like a recipe for disaster. Oh, that was serve. Okay. That was serve. Cool. Giovanni with the cheers. Or he put a oh snap. Okay, let's continue on with Tom's video here.
So it's a little bit preposterous, and basically him saying, well, look, we're not going to do that. We'll just give you whatever you deserve. And if you need Social Security, that extra tax we're collecting is just decency. Human decency obviously has a lot to do with it. But again, freeing up more disposable income to the most problematic low socioeconomic people in the United States, it's an economy booster. Same thing with overtime. No more taxes on overtime, right? Again, people who have to work overtime probably are not billionaires. Again, you free up more disposable income. Obviously, that's the decent thing to do, but also it's a smart thing to do. He also talks about basically keeping the highest brackets.
You know what? He's got a great point, right? My brother-in-law works on the railroad, right? He's been working on the railroad. He works overnight, though, not all the live long day. And dude works like 80 hours a week, 6 days a week, barely sees his kids. And he's so stoked that he doesn't have to pay tax on overtime, right? That's a huge, huge benefit for him.
For income tax at 37%, not raising it back to 39.6, which is again smart because the world is a global competition for tax. If I'm a high earner and I pay 37% in the US and somewhere I can pay 35%, maybe I'll just move. But if in the US I pay 40% and I can move to Europe and pay 30%, that's a huge difference. There's going to be kind of this brain drain and capital drain from the United States if they go back to 40% income tax. People with money are just going to relocate, for tax purposes. A tax rate increase doesn't end up with creating more tax collections. It happens.
Oh, cool. I've never seen this before. The Laffer curve suggests that there's an optimal level of taxation. From 0 to 100, the optimal level is 50% taxation. No, thank you. Screw that.
To an extent, but at some point beyond the equilibrium point, based on Laffer curve, basically, if you increase taxes too much, the collection actually drops because people leave and all that good stuff. So I think that's smart. He talks about other things like the pass-through deduction for pass-through entities, the exemption on estate tax staying at at $12 million, very, very high. But on the whole thing that we're looking at here, the most important proposal is actually not none of these things. They're quite important, but he's also making a stake. He's making a claim saying, hey guys, for decades and decades and decades, we have enriched the pockets of Wall Street assholes. People who are in the finance industry are not paying income tax on their job. Guess what? While you are getting taxed 37%, they're getting taxed 20% because they're paying capital gains tax. They're not paying income tax, even though it's their job. It's their job to trade stocks, and yet they pay half of what you guys are paying, and they're 10 times, 100 times richer than most of us, right? How come? Well, because they have this very lucrative loophole that's called the carried interest tax. And it goes something like this. Every fund has a cost structure, which is identical. 2% management fee on assets under management and 20% carried interest. Basically, whatever they perform, if they made you $1 million, well, they take $200,000. Now, it doesn't exactly work like that because they have certain thresholds. For example, they only get paid after the original investors get 8% return. And from that point on, they get to collect their carried interest, but you get the point. they collect 20% of the profits they generate for their clients. And the tax code right now classifies this as capital gains. Guess what? You're only paying 20%. You don't have to pay full 37% income tax. We're talking about a lot of money to rich people with lobby and with, with the ability to influence decision makers. And that has never been fixed. And Trump is the first president in a long time who's actually going and basically saying, hey, we're going to fix this loophole. We're going to make a lot of money from this loophole because we're talking about lots and lots and lots of billions, lots of billions. On top of it.
So what I want to do is shift gears a little bit. And I asked ChatGPT this morning. I said, ChatGPT, dear ChatGPT, when there's no federal income tax, what kinds of stocks would benefit and what kinds of stocks would suffer? And good old ChatGPT, in his infinite wisdom, shone down from a high. He came down from Mount Olympus with 2 tablets. He's saying the stocks that would benefit would be things like disposable income stocks like Amazon, Nike, Louis Vuitton, Tesla, financials, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Charles Schwab, real estate. More disposable income could mean increased home buying. So DR Horton, travel and leisure. More discretionary income means more travel for sure. Marriott, Delta, MGM. High consumer and business spending could fuel more adoption in Apple, Google, Microsoft, Nvidia. Dividend paying stocks, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola. But stocks that would suffer would be things like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon. I actually used to work at Raytheon. Without federal income tax, government revenue would drop, leading to potential cuts in defense spending, like at Raytheon. I worked on the Predator and Reaper drone projects, and I mean, it was cool. I always wanted to work on the CV-22 Osprey projects, but no, I was on the Predator and Reaper drones, but still pretty cool. If government revenue drops, treasury bonds could lose appeal. So you've got some things like MetLife, Prudential, T. Rowe Price, which suffer. Muni bonds, investors wouldn't need tax-free investments anymore. Good point. Healthcare stocks, if government funding shrinks, healthcare subsidies could subside, like CVS. Companies relying on federal subsidies, like renewable energy and student loan providers, Nexa, SolarEdge, and Navient. Overall market impact. Growth stocks would likely see a boost due to higher disposable income. Government-reliant sectors would struggle, and consumer tech and financials would thrive. Do I want to see a breakdown of specific sectors for trading strategy adjustments? No. What I want to do is actually look at a handful of these that they were talking about in ChatGPT, right? So here's Amazon. We got a buy signal January 24th. You can see the greed is continuing to come up into Amazon, but it may have peaked. It might be coming back out. Same with this whole sector here for this discretionary sector. While it showed a lot of strength here as far as the greed and fear, right? So if you want to know how greedy or how fearful things are, you can go into OVTLYR and look at this value right here for the heat map. In fact, let me make this bigger. You can go here for the heat map, and it'll tell you on a score of 1 to 50 of greed and 1 to 50 or 0 to 50 on fear and 0 to 50 on greed, how deep they are. It looks like Amazon may have peaked around G23. It's now coming down to G22 today. So that may be one that's interesting to you. Let's look at another one that they were talking about. Oh, SMCI. That was one of the questions in the chat. Did get a buy signal January 28th. In fact, let's go to SMCI's chart. Right, January 28th was here. So personally, I wouldn't have taken it because the trend was currently down at that time. But to see a big move up like that, you always got to be watching for these order blocks, right? Because it's going to come down about 5% this morning, coincidentally, right in time with that order block right there. But yeah, this one still has a lot of fear into it. And then all of a sudden, fear is evaporating on SMCI. Let's go to the next one here. They were talking about, or someone had a question, I think it was ISRG, healthcare stock, right? We got a sell signal, and you can see how the greed is actually like evaporating really quickly right here, starting to head towards fear. Then another one they were talking about, JP Morgan. Look at this move right here. JP Morgan, January 8th. Go to that real quick. January 8th. All right, this is one of the stocks I said that would benefit if there are income tax reductions, right? January 8th to today, it's up, 11.5%. That's pretty great. And that sell signal came, actually today, that sell signal came, and you can see just how it went from like not much fear, not really anything going on, to like ultra greed. We got as high as G39, so 39 out of 40. Then another one I was talking about was Goldman Sachs. Same thing here, big move up. Got that sell signal yesterday. It was actually in the fear area, got that greed or buy signal, and then huge move up on the greed index right here. Peaked around 35. This fear and greed index is so sick to me. I love using this. And the way that I use it is, let me show you what I mean. The way that I use it is I'm looking for a spread. So if I get in and it has a sell signal, it's in the red. In fact, this one was in the red. It's got a buy signal in the red right here of R7. I would hold it until it gets to a G13 value, which the G13 value came right here. So I actually would have lost out on some gains, but it would have gone from January 8th to January 22nd. Let's go to that real quick. That was Goldman Sachs. January 8th to January 22nd. Yeah. I don't know if I would have taken that, honestly, because it was still 10 under the 20. But had I taken it, this is how I would have traded it. Get in, get out, and take, you know, most of that move right there. 9% in the span of a couple weeks. Then another one that I talked about was Lockheed Martin, right? This is one that would suffer, right? You can see it's been on a huge drawdown lately, right? We got that sell signal back in November, it looks like, October 23rd, and then just sell off. You can see it got pretty deep in the fear. It got down to fear of 27, so 27 out of 50. And we did get another sell signal here. So this would have been a buy to close. So if you, the way that I look at it is a sell in a downtrend would be a sell to go short. And then a buy within a downtrend is a buy to close. So imagine you bought puts here and you sold to close those puts right there. And then a new sell signal just came through a few days ago, and it's continuing to move down. That fear is getting bigger and bigger, right? And this is what we're trying to encapsulate here, right? With these buy and sell signals and the fear and greed index, we're trying to tell you when the people are changing their minds, right? To go from really excel to sell, right? And then you're trying to ride that down. You want it to get more and more fearful if you're going short, or more and more greedy if you're going long. That's what I'm trying to get across here. And then the market breadth right now, overall market breadth continues to go down. So for me, I mean, because market breadth is continuing to go down, even with the market basically sideways, right? I'm not doing anything, right? I'm telling you, you just wait. You just wait. You haven't seen how cool and how easy trading can get. It's almost effortless when the trend is moving in your direction of the market. And let's just say, let's say you're bullish. When the trend of the market's moving bullishly, and then you've got the trend of the breadth moving bullishly, it feels like you have the Midas touch. Just wait. Just my rule when things aren't working is go to cash and don't F up. Okay. Go to cash and don't F up is my rule. But let's do this. Let's rank Tom's video. Because honestly, I thought I learned a lot in this. And he brought up lots of good points, right? And of course, I agree with most of those points. So I think that he's an intelligent man. Hey, Nathan, good morning. You got the early AF live stream. Rick, I was facing a marginal tax rate of 71% last year. There was no way I was paying that. At least the car pre-tax, paid extra pension, had gone down to 4 days if needed. Dude, that's unbelievable. We're not going to go through everything this morning. We got to cut it short. Good morning, that guy. All right, but how would you rank this video? Nathan, no. Nobody gets a 7. No, your vote was rejected. You have to put in a new one. In the shadows is calling for an 8, 6. Okay, that's better, Nathan. Thank you. Simon says 8. I also would have said 8. So good video from Tom today. Really appreciated him putting the work into this, right? Teaching us a little bit about taxes and how things are going. And honestly, I as much as I do want to make America great again, I don't know how we do that if we're going to set ourselves up in an inflationary environment. But clearly I'm not smart enough to figure that stuff out. But I am smart enough to tell you, you got to get the annual pass. It ends this Friday and save 64%. I don't want you to miss out. If you're already on your trial, just send us an email and we will get you set up and moved over to that annual pass. And of course, tell me what you're trading in the chat. And don't forget, only price pays. Be sure to come back tomorrow, or we'll help you save time, make money, and start winning with less risk together as a team. Now, YouTube is going to pop up a couple recommended videos. I recommend you watch one of them. I also recommend you have a fantastic day. We'll talk soon.